Good morning to all. Let me bring you back the time the presentation comes. 18 months in time, when we saw this massive inflationary wave coming at us. And at that time, early on, we recognized that we had to do something specific about it to be able to mitigate that cost pressure. And this is how and when Project Tasty was born. What do we aim at with Tasty and agility? It's about value creation, of course. This is about mitigating that cost pressure, and I'll come back to that. It's about agility, speed in decision making for Project Agility. But back to Tasty, it's focusing on SKUs, stock keeping units, the individual product items. It's looking at recipes and packaging optimizations, opportunities with including the impact of technologies as highlighted by Stefan earlier on. We will achieve this year, we know it, it's just a few weeks to go, we'll achieve 1 billion in positive P&L impacts, and we aim at another 1 billion in 2023 with a high level of confidence as we got already a large part of that mapped for next year, and we already see some benefits for 2024. There will be a net positive impact on the top line for next year. There was a small negative in Q3, and there will be some more in Q4, as indicated in Zone AOA. That was related to the discontinuation of entire subsegments of dilutive businesses. Of course, that cannot be replaced quickly by other brands and products, so that there is a net negative. But longer term, we expect, and I'll explain that in detail, a net positive on the top line. And building up on Tasty, we decided and thought that speed and agility was of the essence. We are the largest. I guess we have shown also tremendous adaptability in the last years. But we recognize that raising our game in a context where technology is also changing everything in the ways of working, and we are now in the world of real-time management, raising our game in terms of speed and effectiveness, efficiency effectiveness was critical. So that's why we kicked off Project Agility a few months ago. Efficiencies is not new, of course, and that's why I was highlighting that this goes above and beyond recurring efforts. This is the start. Achieving efficiency is the start of our strategic virtuous circle of value creation. To a large extent, this is the make or break. Unlocking efficiencies, productivity unlocks resources that we can use to mitigate the inflationary pressure or invest behind brands, innovation, technology, and then drive a virtuous circle of value creation. There is a lot we have to handle, like I guess everyone in the business those days. There are multiple tensions that we have to handle. The impact of the COVID has broken the global supply chain, which is coming back hopefully, and we got on top the geopolitical tensions. All of this created this or strengthened this inflationary pressure that we see. That translates now into the labor costs, and that is what will likely extend the inflationary impact into 23 and possibly beyond. The decarbonization is critical for us, critical for society at large, and of course the energy agenda is part of that. We have shown again a lot of adaptability, agility in that context, and productivity of the portfolio has been Center stage, you know about the more than 20% portfolio rotation to divest dilutive businesses and invest into more promising areas like health science, for instance, or pet, or coffee. You have seen as well the reorganization of the center from 3 to 5 zones to get even closer to the consumers and to the customers, and make sure that we take the decision as close as possible to market reality. And of course, the digital transformation has been embraced with an end-to-end perspective, front to back, from farm to fork, and beyond. So that's about Tasty. Tasty is to drive productivity, efficiencies, and ultimately value creation. We want to save costs with a view to protect margins and at the same time protect market shares and unlock growth. The scope is group-wide. All BUs, all zones, all markets, all functions, R&D included, and of course we review all SKUs, recipes, packaging in that framework, and include the impact of technologies. This is data-driven. This is where the SAP backbone with Globe is helpful, of course. This is cross-functional, everyone on board, and sustainability is embedded. We made it very, very clear at the start of the project that there is no way back in our decarbonization journey or in reducing virgin plastic. That's core, and we keep it as a must. And of course, a few non-negotiables. Quality, 60/40 consumer preference is of the essence. This is the backbone of our success, and this is why, by the way, we call the project Tasty, because we don't want to do anything that would impair the consumer preference. Taste is absolutely critical, and we want to win on taste at all times. Safety, of course, and regulatory and compliance, absolutely non-negotiable. The project is led and steered by the Nestlé Executive Board, but everyone in the business is involved. All markets, again, all strategic business units, all globally managed businesses, functions, everyone is contributed. And as a matter of fact, we got more than 1,000 projects in the pipeline. A few of them, of course, with a greater impact, and I will highlight some of them. But there is a lot which is contributed from the ground up to make that project the contribution it is bringing to the company. So this is the way it's structured. There are fundamentally 2 streams. One is the SKU stream, the stock keeping units. The second one is the recipe and packaging stream. We look at the cost savings opportunities, but we look also at the value up opportunities. It's not only about cost savings. There are value up opportunities that we want to capture. And when it comes to the SKUs, as you can see, this is not just about cutting the tail, which has been focus in the past. We believe that there is a lot we can achieve through cutting the tail, creating the space for innovation, creating the space for the more important SKUs. But equally important, if not more, is growing the head, pushing those core SKUs that are making a difference for Nestlé. And I'll explain that in detail. So what are the benefits that we see coming? We see 300 million coming from the SKU stream. We see 700 million coming from the recipe and packaging stream, including the impact of new technologies. And that makes the 1 billion. And this is more or less what we envision for 2023 as incremental impact to 2022. On the SKU front, and I know that there are lots of questions, so I just would like to share a few data points. And as you will see, the Pareto principle absolutely applies. So that's how our portfolio looks like. We got more than 100,000 SKUs that we manage across the organization. And looking at it, we recognize that roughly 1/3 of the SKUs account for 1% of sales. But at the same time, and that's why I want to highlight that so strongly, 11% of the SKUs account for 80% of the sales. So not all the SKUs are born equal. Not all the SKUs have the same relevance for the organization. It's 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000 maybe in some cases or more. And of course, addressing the tail brings a lot of benefits because those SKUs are mobilizing resources that are not justified. So if we can cut those SKUs, we create space and energy to be focused on the core SKUs, what Pareto used to call the vital few. This is really the concept. Those are the vital few, these 11% of the SKUs that account for 80% of the sales. Let me show what we can do in this respect. So I highlight there a few of those dual SKUs, of those A SKUs, those vital few that account for 80% of the net sales. We can give them priority for resource allocation. That sounds obvious, but we want to do it systematically. We want to make sure that they got VIP treatment in the system. Those are the dual SKUs. Those are the critical SKUs. They should get perfect supply. They should get perfect distribution. We should make sure that they are on shelf available at all times. The reality is that on average, we would get probably 95% on shelf availability. If we can move from 95 to 96, make sure that those products are available at all times, we make a significant difference. On distribution, on supply, for instance, if we got 97, 98% case fill rate on average, I would like that we get on those SKUs close to 100%. That makes a big difference, of course. In supporting on shelf availability, those SKUs we want to see everywhere. Every time we enter a store, these 11% SKUs we want to see in the store. There should be no point of sale where they are not made available. And there as well, there is some room for improvement. Of course, right pricing, right support in terms of marketing investments and commercial investments and right tracking and monitoring. Those are the core SKUs. To take a proxy, which would be the way airline companies handle their customers. If those SKUs are our customers, we want to give them platinum treatment. They have to be in priority at all times. And we would even like to be able to produce them with more frequency. Ideally, if we could produce them every day, then we can keep the products freshest as possible, and we would see co-benefits in terms, of course, of inventories and working capital, but that's the spirit. Those are critical to us. We want to nurture them and give them the best possible support. This is complementing the strategic planning process. You know that we are prioritizing business sales, sub-sales. Nescafé Mexico, for instance, would be one business sale and happens to be a great one. We got sub-sales then as part of Nescafé Mexico, like Nescafé Dolce Gusto is a sub-sale, the coffee mixes and so on and so forth. And then Tasty is addressing the lower level, which is the stock keeping units. And even in Nescafé Mexico, you would find dual SKUs and maybe some of those what we call E-SKUs, those that do not contribute any value to the business. To show you a few examples and that they come from across the organization, we got 5 different business units featured there. Those 5 examples account for 150 million in cost savings. So we got those 5, and we got a few big ones, and we got many then smaller ones that make the bulk of the 1 billion. And the beauty of the initiative is that we have seen lots of benefits as well on sustainability. Not systematically, it depends, of course, but in some cases, we see also some benefits. We got the case of dairy, replacing some dairy ingredients with fibers or with other or plant-based ingredients, for instance. We can reduce cost, but we got also a benefit in terms of greenhouse gas emission. In that case, those three examples, there is a saving of 40 million compounded, and we save also 300,000 greenhouse gas in the process. So there is a value from a sustainability standpoint. Plastic reduction as well. Two examples. One is the Gerber container in the US. We save 6 million in removing the cap, but we save as well 2.3 thousand tons. And other interesting example, Vittel in France, the bottle, we reduce the size of the cap. We save 1 million, and we save also 700 tons of virgin plastic. So we got some of those where we see co-benefits in terms of the sustainability impact, and of course they are well taken and they are important in the process. Talking about co-benefits, there are many of those on the SKU optimization. We believe that we can use a lot better our capital deployed, our manufacturing assets, dedicating them more towards the critical SKUs and eliminating the dilutive ones to create space, and that releases capacity and improves freshness. The work on packaging optimization is good for us, of course. It's good for the planet. If we can reduce our footprint, improve our palletization and the container fields, for instance. And there is a co-benefit for our customers. What is good for us in that case is good for them as well, and good for the planet. Optimizing the recipes, we do it in a way also that intends to simplify specifications. So we build up resilience. We try to build up, also strengthen the local supply chains. Of course, we got the consumer preference embedded, and we make procurement more efficient. And enhanced technologies, there are many things coming from R&D or coming from the digital front. Recognizing that some are game changers, and doing it in that framework allows for speed, alignment by design, and speed in implementation. So we got many good examples in this respect. And of course, we through that enhance the ways of working. This is led and owned by the business, but everyone on board. There is a sense of urgency. We declared that this was a priority. We mobilized the organization to make it happen. There is internal inspiration. I like to share one of the examples. It's maybe not huge, but it's illustrative. Our water business unit came with the idea that they could probably do a better job in filling up the containers. You can imagine that it's important. Transportation costs are very critical component for them. And at the time of the pandemic, we had scarcity of containers, and the price of the containers went up to the roof. So optimizing the fill was a big opportunity for us going forward. So they came up with that idea. And when we saw that there was an upside possible, we decided to review all categories to make sure that the learnings of waters would be applied to the rest of the business. So there is really the spirit of trying to find the pockets of excellence or the good ideas and seeing if they can be applied in other parts of the organization. This is technology powered, this is data powered, of course, and I talked about the data backbone that we got. There is this agile mindset. Believe it or not, we will achieve that with very few FTEs, full-time equivalent dedicated. The people doing it is the people running the business or running the operations. And they dedicate part of their time to that. R&D, Stefan dedicates 10% of his resources to support the project, reprioritizing some activities. Bernard is commenting often that 30% of the SBU time is dedicated to support the project, and you would see the same across the organization. So just a few people dedicated essentially for data crunching and preparing the decisions. The rest is run by the organization end-to-end from procurement down to commercial. And the beauty, maybe one point important of having clear the priority SKUs is that now we got one set of priorities which is valid across the organization. So Salesforce has got a list of priority. This is the same for the marketing people. This is the same for manufacturing. This is the same for procurement. So it's not that everyone have got their optimization list. They all work on the same. And of course, that is providing tremendous alignment, tremendous critical mass, and makes an impact. And this is building up and strengthening the resilience of the organization. All those elements are, of course, very important in terms of strengthening our impact as an organization. So building up on that and seeing lots of the positives of the ways of working on Tasty, but also recognizing that we are at a time when speed is of the essence, and recognizing also that we are a large and complex organization. We want to do the things well. Compliance is important, of course. But we need always to find the right balance, and we believe that, and Mark pushed that, of course, that we could be and review the organization to make sure that we are agile, we are efficient at all times, we are adaptable, of course, that we eliminate duplications to make sure that we can make decisions in real time. So that's the spirit of launching Project Agility. This is the same. This is run by internal resources. We kicked off the project in August. We completed phase 1, and we should get conclusions by the end of the first quarter for implementation during 23 and beyond. So that's basically the second pillar of those productivity, efficiency, effectiveness efforts from across the organization. And as a conclusion, key takeaways, of course, we need to adapt to a changing environment. I guess everyone realized that the theory of evolution was right. And in times of tremendous changes, this is not necessarily the strongest or the fastest that will survive. This is the most adaptable. So we want to strengthen that as a feature of our organization. We want to be adaptable at all times. We want to be agile. And Tasty is a testament of that. Tasty is helping us mitigate this inflationary pressure and frees up resources. We are generating 1 billion in P&L benefits above and beyond what we were used to do across the organization, and we plan another 1 billion in 2023. This had positive impacts above and beyond, and we will not stop in 2023. We are already mapping 2024 benefits, and we want to keep it up because this is the way we want to work going forward. If we will have had a negative impact on top line in Q3 and Q4, you will see a positive impact materializing in 2023, second part of the year in particular. The time we can organize that we get rid of those dilutive SKUs, the E SKUs, and that we put instead in store and across the operations, those core SKUs, the A SKUs, the vital fews, to make an impact. If you replace, it's kind of obvious, you replace a low rotating SKU, a dilutive SKU, by a high rotating SKU, and there are opportunities always, because not all of those A SKUs are distributed 100% of the time and available 100% of the time. So if we manage that translation, then the top line impact comes, not to mention, of course, the contribution to the P&L, but this is already captured in the 1 billion I highlighted. And this is also enhancing the ways of working, makes the organization agile, on its toes, and with this mindset to try to find opportunities and to learn from each other and build up from each other. Agility will be working in that same spirit. We want to sharpen the focus, effectiveness, and efficiency of the headquarters, and the spirit that we see in Tasty, we would like to see embraced across the organization in every decision-making process, making sure that we go to the essential, identify the opportunities, decide, and move on. So that's the spirit of Tasty and agility. Thank you very much.